Hello, hello, and welcome, my Gemini collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign. Welcome to your What Do I Need read for this full moon in Aquarius to new moon next in Leo, August 2020. I am your reader, Mark Angelo, Lyons, Mal for short, professional witch, professional intuitive, and president of DrawingTheCircle Productions. Hi. I'm a Virgo, so I'm ruled by the same planet as you. Mercury, aren't you glad that retrograde's over? We still got one more to go this year. We'll get there when we get there, right. My subscribers, thank you so much for following along, for helping me on this YouTube journey of mine. Great, big, huge appreciated. Never thought I would be doing this ever in my life, considering I took clients face-to-face for decades, right? I could actually reach out and touch them. So this is way different, but it suits the time in which we find ourselves, doesn't it? And for anybody new to the channel, please do consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bell, because my schedule is so nuts nowadays that I could be putting out content any time of day or night. So you'll get to see everything I put out there. And of course, use that Gemini third house self-expression to comment in the comment section below should the reading resonate with you. Cool? Let's get down to business. This is a general read, a 7-card draw. We're just picking one card from seven different decks, each one representing a different pantheon of divinity that I've been working with my whole life. Sort of the voices of, if you will. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, right? Not everything's going to suit everybody. It might just not be your reading this time around. It do happen every now and again, because this is actually sort of a spiritual counseling kind of reading, asking the divine, what do I need, right? Like when you go to, you know, a counselor or a therapist, or even a doctor for that matter, and you don't know what's going on, which means you have to have the humility to admit, all right, I don't know what I need. What do I need, right? You ask somebody of a higher perception, at least, and in this case, divine pantheon's worth it, right? Including your own higher self. We're going to be asking. So we're looking at a very specific period of time. This one is not a timeless read. We're looking at the full moon in Aquarius, Monday, August 3rd. Now that's at 11:59 a.m., a minute before noon. So if you're trying to get that last bit of waxing moon, you might want to do some stuff Sunday, right? Just saying. And it is the corn moon. I guess corn was coming in this time of year, and probably is. I'm not growing it this year, so I'm not exactly sure. To the new moon in Leo on Tuesday, August 18th, 10:42 p.m. So if you want to work the new moon, you might want to wait until Wednesday, right? So it's interesting, the timing this year, particularly if you work during the week, right? To kind of nail your magic, your intention work, whatever it is that you want to do. We're going to start with the Caroline Myss archetype cards, looking at what is the dominant soul power that you will be alchemizing from lead to gold in this waning moon. I only really use these cards in the What Do I Need reads for the waning, because lead, symbolically speaking, well, actually on the periodic table, remember the periodic table, right? Science, right? Biology and all that, chemistry, I guess. Long time ago, the 70s for me, the 80s, yeah, whatever. Lead has 3 more atoms than gold. Can you imagine? That gold would have less atoms than lead. That was quite the revelation, but something has to be let go of, right? 3 atoms, symbolically speaking. So this is really good for waning moon. So all the decks that I read are in the description box all the way at the bottom. Do check out my description box. I'm a Virgo. I put a lot of good info in there. Otherwise, let's get up in this gig, shall we? Focus on your breath, stay in the present moment. I will do the same. You'll hear me say, breathe, right? Because I need to stay in the present moment so I don't over-tangent. Sometimes it's the guides saying something. Sometimes they want to take us on a trip around the world to go around the corner. So let's do this. Breathe. Air signs that you are. Here we go. Ah, there you are, my collective pantheons. Hi, first reading of the day. Please, I need just one card in clarity for this Gemini collective, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus signs. What do they need from this full moon in Aquarius to the new moon in Leo, August 2020. What is their dominant archetype? The dominant archetype is someone they will be dealing with for this 2-week waning period, or perhaps a situation in which they find themselves, and that will play itself out differently for whoever's watching this in this Gemini collective. So please leave it in my hand. What is the perfect card, the perfect archetype for them to alchemize? And it's the vampire archetype. This is the second time this card has come up. It came up in the Twin Flames. The Twin Flame readings I did, but I hadn't seen it come up for months and months and months. So I'm not shocked to see it because of what we're going through on planet Earth, because there's a lot of parasitical energy on the planet between human beings. Every archetype, like I said, is lead and gold, shadow and light. So we're looking at the shadow first. This is what you will be dealing with that needs to be healed, alchemized, or at least looked at and dealt with. The shadow attribute of the vampire archetype: depleting others for your psychic survival, which says something, right? If you are dealing with a vampire archetype, whether they have it for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, or if you are dealing with the because everybody has access to the vampire archetype. That's why they're so popular in culture, right? But I mean, I'm rewatching. I got HBO Max, so I'm actually binge watching True Blood again because I loved the series. But now, knowing what I know, and I had already known about the vampire archetype then, but I've learned so much since. You can really look at the codependent relationships in that and be like, oh wow, yeah. So that means that somebody is so cut off from source that they can't get it vertically, so they have to steal the energy horizontally. Chronic complaining and codependency is certainly a sign of that, but also most vampires, as we see particularly in culture, tend to be seductive first, right? So that you invite them in. They have no power over you unless you invite them in, and that is so very true of codependency as well. But the light attribute, even if this is your own, do understand this is a contract then that you were scheduled to deal with. It's not your fault. Somebody vampired you. That's how it goes, right? It's so funny how the vampire lore and myth. Oh, right. I have a video on this YouTube channel that I originally had up on Vimeo, but I took it down off Vimeo and put the whole thing up on YouTube. It's called Vampires and Witches. Yeah, I probably did it alphabetically, knowing me, Virgo that I am. So do understand, this isn't like every shadow is toxic, but as dark as the shadow is as bright as the light is. You know what I mean, don't you, Gemini? Good twin, evil twin. The light attribute makes you aware that someone or something is draining your life force. Good skill to have during a waning moon, that's for sure. So don't worry, we're not leaving you there. That's one of 7 cards. We are going to call upon my angels and archangels. They're probably yours too, being that they're celestial. Doreen Virtue, Healing with the Angels Oracle. What is the angel that is going to help you deal with that? If that card comes out as I make the prayer, because that's what I do, and I talk to them, it's a prayer, so that they leave the right card in my hand to kind of help you deal with that, right? What is the angel, right? This is the power that you need to alchemize from lead to gold. This is the healing angel that you need, we had a flipper, to call upon for this full moon to new moon next. Breathe. Yeah, and they're saying because vampires can't take the energy this way, that's why if you throw them out in the sun, they burn up, right? They don't have the circuitry to take it. So fascinating. Until you date one. Breathe. I made the angels laugh. My angels and archangels, please. They went. Please, one card in clarity for this Gemini collective, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign. What is the healing angel they need to call upon this full moon in Aquarius to new moon in Leo, August 2020? Balance. Now look, you're a Gemini. Balance is key, right? Because you are of 2 minds of everything. Little different than a Libra, who is the center point of the scales, but goes like this. You're doing that all the time, right? Learn to be the silent witness of the thoughts. I know it's Eckhart Tolle. I know it's A Course in Miracles. But the more you get that, the more those 2 voices will start find, like, doing that, coming into the middle, because sometimes for you, one voice is your head and one voice is your heart, and how do you make a wise decision with the throat, right? So balance. Call upon the healing angel of balance. Now look, if we knew how to stay balanced all the time, we would. So there's no shame in asking an angel, will you help me find balance? I don't even know what I need balance in. I just know that I'm a little lopsided. It's sort of like, you know, if you only paddle a canoe on one side, you're going to go in circles. You need to go this side, and then this side, and then this side. Not that I know. I'm not that sporty. Well, at least not outdoorsy sporty. Let's indoorsy sporty. Tantra. Let's keep going. Let's ask the goddesses, the voices of the collective divine feminine. If you don't like the word goddesses, that's fine. They don't care. They're goddesses. I've had lunch with them. They're goddesses. Half the universal energy, if you will, what you need to be aware of inside of yourself, and how to remember that is yin side of yourself instead of yang, which will be the next deck. Cool? Breathe. A very high electric reading, my gems. It's truly outrageous. Truly outrageous. My goddesses, please, one card in clarity for this Gemini collective. Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus signs. What do they need to be aware of within themselves? Their own interior world, the world behind their eyes, for this full moon in Aquarius to new moon in Leo, August 2020. I mean, it only happens in August, but August 2020. Please, my goddesses, what do they need to be aware of? Interesting card. You've got the card of the rattle, and I have to say, for a Gemini, that makes a lot of sense. This is the Ten of Blades, the Ten of Swords, but very different in its depiction than what we're used to seeing. Repeated betrayal 10 times, yikes. Not so much in this one. This is the passing of the talking stick, also known as the rattle. A tribal ceremony in Native American cultures. I don't know in all of them. My mom was a teacher and raised us with a lot of Native American stuff growing up. Probably had a past life together. My mom and I, as natives, Native Americans. Who knows at this point? It's all blending. But this was a way of finding resolution, right? So one person would hold the rattle, the talking stick, which was really big in the 90s, but we monetized it. It was horrible. It turned into a really passive-aggressive thing. It's my turn for the talking stick, right? But whoever had the talking stick with the rattle would be the one who spoke, and everybody had to pay attention and listen, right? And then it would pass around, and then that person would have that right until everybody was heard. So think of this very much as what I said before with this card of balance of, what? Okay, here's your turn. Shh, it's his turn. And it's like, okay, your turn. Shh, it's her turn, right? And letting all of those different internal psychological voices be heard. That doesn't mean you're a multiple personality disorder. We all have different archetypes within ourselves. We all have the inner child, the inner victim, the saboteur, the prostitute, well, those are the survival archetypes. It's not about being a hooker. You know, to let all those energies have a voice inside of you, to be aware that not only are you of maybe two minds about this, but there might be some stuff going on there hidden amongst those voices that really needs to be heard. And just because a voice needs to be heard, it only needs to be heard by you. You don't necessarily have to let everybody know about it. And I think that's what holds a lot of Geminis back in terms of self-expression. Third house is self-expression and communication. But there are so many conflicting voices. This is why journaling, right, writing, any kind of expressive thing that no one has to know, but not everything has to be up on YouTube, you know what I mean? So that's something that you can, well, if you are the vampire here, if you're dealing with that, do it in your coffin, so to speak. Coughing. I shouldn't make coughing jokes during this era, should I? Yeah, but I'm the fun one. But I'm good. Ish. Let's look at the mythic tarot for the other half of that universal energy, the yang, the voices of the gods. I love the mythic tarot. Can you tell from the amount of Greek statuary I have behind me? I don't know that I'm directly Greek, but I am a quarter Sicilian, so anything could happen in Sicily. But apparently what happens in Sicily doesn't stay in Sicily because my family came here. So here we go. Breathe. Oh, my gods, my delightful gods, my gods, my gods, my gods, my gods, please, one card in clarity. For this Gemini collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign, what do they need to be aware of in the outside world? Yang, or their own masculine energy, particularly self-expression, going into the outside world for this full moon in Aquarius to new moon next in Leo. Please, my gods, piece of clarity, guidance, and grace. What do they need to be aware of? You have a major arcana card, and that is the major arcana card of the moon. So let's do this two different ways, because this will mean different things for different people. Gemini, two different ways, big shock. Number one, the outside world, the yang world around you, you have no idea. Right, it's like I said at the beginning, like, what do I need? Read a thing? I don't know. You have to have the humility to go before the gods empty-handed and say, I have no clue. May I have one, please? Thank you, my gods. May I have another, right? So it might just be the world is occluded. It's a great word, occluded, O-C-C-L-U-D-E-D, cloudy, right? The other is that when you try to express yourself, it comes out like, I feel hot, I feel cold, I feel yes, I feel no, I feel in, I feel out, I feel up, I feel down, I feel wrong when it's right, I feel left when it's right. I fight, I make up, I kiss, I break up. You've been Katy Perry'd, right? So, such a great song. Someone call a doctor, got a case of a love bipolar. Gemini much? Sorry, I'm allowed to tease Geminis. My father was one, and I'm a gay male. I'm allowed to. So the moon, right? So really, you're gonna have to really rely upon more your intuition. Now, if you are not a Gemini moon, you might want to look at what your moon sign is. And if you know that, check the reading if it hasn't been done yet. This is only the third of the series. Because this is Hecate, right? This is one of my goddesses. Hecate has been with me since I was a little boy. I used to pray to the moon. I used to get in trouble praying to the moon. Mark, get back in bed. Decisions, queen of the crossroads, right? Goddess of the underworld, but a crone in terms of a voluptuous, powerful grandmother, right? She's a different kind of crone, my Hecate. She discovered skincare before everybody else. Do you know what I'm saying? She's just gorgeous. So keep that in mind. Like there's a lot of voices going inside of you that might be very hard for you to express in the outside world. Hence the balance. But also, are you draining or being drained? This does make sense. Well, because when someone's draining you, you can't. Oh my God, read the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, particularly the 4 control dramas, because when someone is draining your energy, particularly if you are dealing with someone who is an interrogator, archetype is not really the right word for that, but someone who's they just keep asking you questions in a way that drains your energy, because the more questions they ask you, the less clarity you have, right? Well, why are you doing that? And what was the impulse behind that? And why would you even? And none of those questions have good answers, so you're kind of doing that. Which could very much be like a dynamic. Really, it's free. Go watch my Witches and Vampires and Witches. It's like a 2-hour class that I do with a pen board, and I draw pictures, and I'm a horrible visual artist, so it is hysterical, I think. But let's keep going. You've got 3 more cards left. Now, this is where we get more into the healing side of this. The first 4, well, not including the angel, kind of show you what time it is, what's the tea, what's the shade, with or without the pink lemonade. This is where we look at the healing part of it. We're going to ask the Ascended Masters through the Chuck Spezzano Love Pack. There are 4 suits in here, so it's sort of like the problem. What is the problem you need to be aware of? The luck. What is the luck right in front of you you're not seeing that you need to be aware of? What is the healing that you need to embrace, or the grace that you need to allow? Because this is a what do I need reading, right? Let's do this. Breathe. See, the inhale goes ting, I plug in, and then the connection comes through. It's so cool. Please My Ascended Masters, one card in clarity. What does this Gemini Collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus sign need for this full moon in Aquarius to new moon next in Leo, August 2020? What is the problem? The luck, the grace, or the healing that they need to be aware of in any level for this. Ooh, I almost felt that one. Leave it in my hand for this full moon to new moon next. You need to be aware of the problem of fantasy. That there are things going on in your mind that just aren't true. Well, if not you, then someone that you're dealing with, and figuring out which is which can be really clearly, because again, right, what do we have here? The moon in the outside world in the yang, the yang, if you will. So things, ooh, I gotta be careful with this politically, don't I? There's a lot of misinformation, but based on fantasy. In other words, misinformation that people really believe is true. See, that's the difference between just being lied to, which everybody gets lied to, and everybody's lied in their lives. This is about really believing something that isn't true. And I'm bringing the picture up close so that you can see the dude laying in the hammock in a very barren landscape, but in his mind, it's just all greenery, right? It's just all beautiful, idyllic, beautiful day. But also know that can be reversed. You can also be what Yeshua ben Joseph would have said, looking through a glass darkly. You don't know who Yeshua ben Joseph is? Really? Interesting. Nice guy. Was very nice to his mother as well. His dad's got a lot of power, apparently, but don't we all? Let's move on to the voices of the higher self, because once you know, oh, there's a fantasy in place, something is not so much showing itself in grandeur, but in grandiosity. You know, that kind of vibe. Let's ask the higher selves of all involved. Maybe you, maybe them, maybe all of y'all. Breathe. The higher selves of all involved, please. One card in clarity. For this Gemini collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus signs, what is the piece of higher self, insight, information, or inspiration that they need for this full moon in Aquarius to the new moon in Leo, August 2020, this waning moon? What is it that they need from their higher self? What is the whisper of love from the Whisper of Love Oracle? Do something for someone else. Interesting. Give your attention to someone else. Now, that can certainly mean that you've been a little insular, who hasn't been. Though the goddesses are kind of saying, go within and listen to those voices. And the gods are saying, you know that things aren't clear either around you or coming from you as you find balance. But maybe some of that is do something for someone else in terms of if you are dealing with a vampire, or if you have been draining somebody. If you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the loved ones in your life. That was a commercial growing up when I was a kid in the 70s. I don't even remember what it was for. Do something for someone else. So I'm kind of getting the higher self is saying, look, you need to get out of yourself a little bit. There are a lot of voices here, and you are very occluded in your self-expression or dealing with that in your outside world, because there are fantasies in place. So do something real. Do something real. Now, donating to a charity is lovely, but this feels more in the body somehow. This feels more like an active physical thing to do something for someone else. Oh. Oh. You may have woven and said some things to people, someone in particular, that led them to believe something that wasn't true. Tell them the truth. It can be that simple. If you are dealing in a situation where someone believes something perhaps about you that you did from a codependent place, right? Or a place where maybe you were just drained, right? And that was the best that you could give them, but it wasn't your highest truth. Do something for someone else. Make the call, right? That would definitely, that there's been occluded communication, that there has been communication, self-expression that just wasn't the truth of who you were at the time. So do something for someone else. Get over your own sense of pride. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. It's called hubris, right? So people are like, I'm too proud to do that. It's like, well, pride goeth before the fall, and I didn't write that rule, right? It is one of the deadly sins. And believe me, the deadly sins aren't just physically fatal. They can destroy relationships, careers. They're really, really like that. They're probably the only things that ever really have destroyed. And if you're unfamiliar with the 7 deadly sins, I suggest you watch Shazam, the movie. Although I learned it from St. John of the Cross, but whatever. Was it St. John of the Cross? I forget who did the 7 deadly sins. Probably St. John of the Cross or St. John of the Divine. Don't remember. Don't need to at the moment. They're all up in there anyway. They're all up in my game anyway. Speaking of the Ascended Masters, saints and masters and all of that, I even got extraterrestrials. Now that's an inclusive group. Talk about inclusion. Let's ask the Ascended Masters, what is the perfect healing mantra that you need for this waning moon in August? Breathe. Oh, ooh, hi. My Ascended Masters, you who gave us the card of fantasy here, please. Ain't nobody seeing clearly in this one. Talk about dark shadows. What is the perfect healing mantra for this Gemini collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus signs for this full moon in Aquarius to new moon next in Leo, August 2020? Because the collective pantheons are talking about the vampire archetype. The angels and archangels are talking about they need balance, right? So they need to alchemize the vampire archetype. They need with the angels to get balance, to heal with balance. From the goddesses are saying they need to really look at all of these different voices and come to some sort of inner resolution. The gods are saying that they need to be aware that their communication is occluded, cloudy, mysterious as the result of the fantasy. So they need to be aware from the Ascended Masters that the problem is that there is a fantasy in place and it doesn't feel like a good one. It feels like a dark fantasy, not a happy, I would say it's almost the exact opposite of this card in terms of what's in the little thought bubble to what's happening in reality. Their own higher selves are saying do something for someone else. That's what they need to do. So my Ascended Masters, what is the healing mantra they most need to work with this waning moon, August 2020? Please leave it in my hand. And we've got Untangling Neglect. It's a very, very cool card. Untangling Neglect. I take the time to give myself all the approval I desire. Okay, maybe that's someone you need to do for someone else too in terms of this communication. But look, there are 4 ego wounds according to Matt Kahn, and I completely agree with him. Abuse, neglect, codependence, and loss, right? The first 3 maybe you deal with, maybe you don't in a lifetime, but everybody deals with wounds of loss. Neglect is one of them, and neglect is harder to catch. Overt abuse, like an overt narcissist, very easy to catch, right? You know, verbally abusive, physically abusive, overt, very young. But covert narcissists, harder, it's neglect, right? They say, but they don't do, right? They promise, but that could be part of this fantasy thing, this shadow fantasy going on. So untangling neglect for yourself, you need to untangle it for yourself before you can, if you have indeed neglected something in a relationship or something in your life. You have to fill up your own tank first. I take the time to give myself all the approval I desire. When neglect is untangled, you are no longer turning to outside sources for constant reassurance and validation. Genius, right? That would be a vampire thing. But what do you think? What do you feel? What do you think? What do you feel? Right? Instead, you are going within the depths of your own heart to notice the parts of yourself that require the presence of your attention. So just turning inward and not neglecting these different voices, but giving them your attention. Attention is love. That's why we wanted it so much as a kid and didn't always get as much as we wanted, right? In nurturing yourself in this way, you step forward as the first responder to each wound, concern, and desire. So even your desires can be neglected. That doesn't mean they have to instantly be manifested. It just means you need to go and give them your loving attention. It's like, go ahead. It is so very much what the ceremony of the rattle is about, except not in a tribe, a community, but within your own interior world. This is so right on. From this space, there becomes less of a likelihood of attracting relationships where further neglect occurs, simply because you have accepted your role as the one who nurtures the innocence within you. There it is. This mantra is ideal for building self-confidence, surviving codependency. It's literally written on the cord. Surviving codependency and healing neediness. Like, I'm starving. Suki. So specific. Bill! Vampire Bill! So let's put this together, shall we? You're dealing with the vampire archetype, and you're going to call upon the angels to bring you into balance, whether this vampire is you or not, whether you're Bill or Sookie, who gets a little suckied, but you need to go within, right? What do you need? You need to address the different voices inside of you, because there must be some sort of at least belief-based conflict in their element of air. Probably some emotions in there too, because things are cloudy on the outside, or at least your expression of them is like, and not really getting you anywhere, because there is a fantasy in play, which is a good thing to know. It's like, oh, so this isn't as bad as I think it is. If this does involve someone else, maybe some harsh words were said, but there was so much pain and confusion going on that you kind of get, oh, now that the dust has cleared, something occluded, right? The clouds have parted, there is more clarity, so let me do something for someone else. Let me sit and look. I'm so sorry. Can we talk? Can we take this communication to its next stage, even if the relationship doesn't go to its next stage? And by the way, that's not only romantic, that's all levels of relationship. While you untangle, neglect, taking the time to give yourself all the approval you desire. That's a really clear reading, and not bad for a waning moon. For a 2-week period, you can knock this out of the park. So may the Gemini collective Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus signs be blessed with all that they need this waning moon, from full moon in Aquarius to new moon in Leo, while they slay the vampire within themselves or within another by really listening to every voice, right? Untangling neglect, giving their loving attention to all of the different aspects and voices within themselves, while at the same time, maybe that's what leads them to do something for someone else about clearing this fantasy and the communication that's very, very murky, muddy, occluded, that will bring them into balance for their well-being and for the well-being of all. So mote it be. And so it is. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and feel free to comment if this resonates. We all deal with vampires, and by the way, we've all vampired people. We've all drained people on bad days. But this archetype shows up for a reason, a season, and sometimes for a lifetime. So, you're going to have to feel whether that's eau de toilette, cologne, or perfume, 3 levels of power within your life. But here's an opportunity for you to literally bring things from out of the moonlight into the sunlight. Burn, baby, burn. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all so much, my Geminis. Hail, farewell, and blessed, blessed be.